Welcome everyone again to our webinar on the ultimate connection with Hashem. We are discussing Jewish meditation and intuition, how we are going to develop our Jewish meditation and intuition. For those who've been with us from the beginning, this is already our 10th lesson. 10th lesson on developing this intuition and meditation. And today we're going to be learning something very interesting and practicing it called sensing people's auras and colors. Okay, might be a bit foreign for some people, might be something that people already do, but we're going to discuss this. And again, these are practices to get us out from ourselves with our feeling senses to receive, to be receptacles for all information that's coming towards us, okay? So this is going to be part one. And then part two, we're going to be discussing a bit further, more intensive look into this subject, okay? So those, again, joining us for the first time, my name is Rabbi Mimran, and this is our 9th class on developing meditation intuition. Okay, so let's just jump into this. It's going to be a fascinating class. Okay, say hello to everybody here and some new people as well. Now, in the mystical book that we have, well, probably the most mystical book is called the Zohar, as people know. In Parshas Vayechi and Trum and other places in the Zohar, we find a very interesting concept called Babua and Babua Dibabua. That's an Aramaic word. And we're going to translate that into Hebrew and English in a minute. This principle of Babua is also brought down in the writings of the Arizal and Sha'ar Kavanot, Sukkot Dush 7, in connection to the night of Hoshana Rabbah. Everybody knows Hoshana Rabbah is a very auspicious time. The minig of Klal Yisrael is to stay up all night and pray. Now, just after Chatzot Laila, what we do is, it's brought down as a minag in the Arizal, and it's also brought down the Ramah in Hoshana Rabbah, that actually he says not to do it. The Arizal says you should do it, but it's very interesting. Minhag is to go out in the middle of the street where it is midnight, just after midnight, where there's a very powerful moonlight, and you should look at your shade. Okay, babua, we translate in English as a shade. Look at your shade on the floor being projected from the moonlight. And we're not going to go into all those details, but apparently if you do that correctly with all the right conditions, you can tell your future. Okay, and the Ramah says you shouldn't do it because you shouldn't affect your future. But like I said, the Arizal says it's an interesting thing to do because then you could, if you know your future, then you can plan for it correctly. You can either do tshuva if you don't like that future. If you do, then you can act it out and so on and so forth. So Babua, we just translate it as shade. In Hebrew, it's called tselem. In English, we'd call that aura. So there we go. We have a source, for where we hear a lot about people speaking about the aura, the aura, the aura. That's a very Jewish concept that we find. Another source we find in the Gemara, okay, in Gittin, a very weird place to find this concept, but in Gittin, page 67a, concerning the laws of divorce. Now listen to this, very interesting, fascinating case. So it's talking about a man giving a divorce to a woman, but in this particular circumstances, the man fell into a very, very deep pit, and he knew there was no way of survival. He was going to die. So what he did was he started calling out from the depth of the pit to anybody passing by in order that they should hear what he's saying and that his orders were, his last words were to give a get, give a divorce bill to his wife. Now, the reason why he wanted to do that, because if he disappears, then she would not be able to remarry according to Jewish law until they find his body, and so it's very complicated. But if he gives her a divorce, then she will be allowed to remarry, obviously. So imagine this case. A man falls into a very deep bore. He's about to die. And there's some passerbyers, people passing by, that hear him say, please give a get to my wife. Now, we have to know that the laws of Gittin are very complicated and very specific. You really cannot take orders from a person unless you can identify him, where he comes from, his name, and so on and so forth. There's a whole list of criterias. But here we find a leniency that says that those people listening to this voice coming out from a pit can actually ordain an official bill of divorce to the wife. That's a big chiddush. That's a very novel thing. The Gemara challenges this and says, well, one second, we have a few questions on this. Now listen to these questions and answers. Now, this is absolutely phenomenal, what the Gemara, you can check it up for yourself. I'm not making this up. The Gemara asks as follows: who says in the pits that it's actually a man? Maybe it's a spirit, or the Ashin Dalet, the bad spirit. Imagine, the Gemara is actually supposing that there is a bad spirit in there speaking. The Gemara gives an interesting answer. The Gemara says, spirits don't have shapes, but a person doesn't have a shape. That means a person, we have a shape. A spirit is like, I suppose, is a cloud. So obviously those people peering into the pit would be able to differentiate whether it is a bad spirit or a person. If they see a shape, they would say, well, it's a person, therefore the bill of divorce would be okay. The Gemara says, okay, well, I have another question. The Gemara says that you have to know that spirits also can take the shape of a person. So that won't be a definite clue, a definite proof that it's a person. Maybe it's a spirit in the shape of a body. So that you can't solicit the bill of divorce. The Gemara says, you know what? One second. There's a difference between spirits and people. Spirits don't have a glow around them. They don't have this babua, this aura around them, and people do. So these people are looking into the pit. They're going to see a person, a shape of a person, and then they're going to see an aura around the person, something that spirits don't have. Then the Gemara says, no, it's not true. Spirits also have auras. Okay. Then the Gemara takes it one more step further. The Gemara says, you know what? The defining factor would be if you see in the pit a person that has the shape of a person and that has an aura and has a double aura, a babua di babua. The Gemara is happy with that. The Gemara settles the fact that spirits have auras, but people have collective auras, an aura on top of an aura. Okay, so ladies and gentlemen, there we have it. Another source, fascinating source. And this is actually brought down in Shulchan Aruch, in this particular case, that if a person would see a person figure with a aura around them and has another aura around them, therefore you can be certain that it's a person. Okay, so again, you can see from here that the Gemara takes this very seriously, especially in the case of law. Divorces are very, very serious. That there is such a concept in Jewish law, in Judaism, as auras. Now let's define this a bit better. Now you have to understand, this is not only a religious concept. You know, even scientists actually pinpoint this. We're going to discuss that now as well. Now, the scientists have coined this phrase as what we just gave it three different languages. In Aramaic, it's called ababua. In Hebrew, it's called tselem. In English, it's called auras. That's the general language that people use. The scientists use a different language. They call it an electromagnetic field or a biofield. That's what they call it. But it's all the same thing, isn't it? It's just different ways of looking at it. So the way they explain it is that everybody emits electric currents from the body. You wouldn't think that there's any electricity in our bodies, but there is. There is. We are full of electricity in our bodies. Now, one of the simple proofs for us laymen, we're not scientists, for us, simple proof is that you ever felt an electric shock? Electric shocks, we feel that all the time. Where's that coming from? That's coming from inside you. You ever see a person rub a balloon on their sweater and the balloon sticks to their sweater? How does that happen? Without getting all the technicalities, that's a transference of protons and electrons. That's the imbalance which sticks one object to another object. That's how you get the balloon stuck to your sweater. So we have a lot of electric currents going in and out of our body all the time. Now you have to understand everything has electric currents. Our cells are specialized to conduct electrical currents that pass through the nervous system to send signals throughout the body and to the brain, making it possible for us to move and think and feel. That's how we move our body points. From our brain, sending electric currents to our body parts. The neuron or nervous cells in the body are the basic working of the unit of the body. They are specialized electronic cells within them designed to pass electric currents to another neuron or even transmit information, packets of information to other cells, muscles, or gland cells. They are like miniature transmitters. They are called synapses. There are over 100 billion neurons just in the brain, besides the heart and other parts of the body. 100 million neurons. That's a lot of electricity. Now, all of this electrical natural energy creates what scientists call, like we said before, the electromagnetic field or the biofield. All objects, including human bodies, emit electromagnetic radiation. The wavelength of radiation emitted depends on the temperature of the object. So if it's a colder one, the wavelength is longer, as I'll explain in a minute. But if it's warmer, the frequency is much higher. Such radiation is sometimes called thermal radiation. Most radiation emitted by a human body is in the infrared zone or region, mainly in the wavelength of 12 microns. Now, this might sound technical, but let me just show you a few little pictures over here will make sense to you. Now, look at the red line on this picture over here. You see over here, can you see my cursor?
Yes.
Yeah, you can see my cursor?
Yes.
So this is the beginning, right? See the way the trough and the peak are wide? Okay, that means the frequency is very wide. They estimate from one building to another building is one peak and one trough. It's very, very far apart. That's what we call a radio wave. A radio wave has very, very long peaks and troughs. When you come to microwave, a microwave, they're tighter. And when you come to this area over here, which I circled over here, that's the infrared. That's where we are. This is what we emit. We emit infrared electromagnetic currents that come out from us. And remember, these are not just currents, electricity. These are packets of information. This is very, very crucial to understand this, for this to work. You have to understand that you emit knowingly or not knowingly, information. And that's for the grams. And if you know how to do this properly, you can actually plug into this information and read people's information. We'll get to that soon. Now, when you get to faster, frequency of vibrations of energy, then that's what's called the ultraviolet. Then you have the X-ray, the gamma ray, which is very close. And this is, we're going to speak about this next week, about colors, how colors are not just something on a piece of paper, but they're actually energies that emit frequencies. For example, the color of purple is very, very quick. It's very, very spiritual, very strong power. Red is very slow. It's a very, you would say it's on the level of the radio wave. It's a very slow frequency. Okay, but what we're saying over here is that this over here in the middle, called the infrared zone, is not what we emit all the time, whether you can see it or not. Now, if you take a special camera, what you actually see a person is emitting these fields. It's also very important from the inner to the outer. This is a lot of people don't understand this, because in our perspective, we have a very strong electric current. Let's call it in our language, neshama. That's your power bank. Your power bank is your neshama. That fuels your body. Once your neshama leaves your body is useless. That's your electric power bank. Now, from that source, emits outwards on all 360 degrees outwards an magnetic field all around you, unknowingly. Now, like I said, look at this picture carefully. You see how there's lines going down, layers and layers. These are all layers of packets of information. Remember, these currents of electricity are not just pure electricity, but rather packets of information. Okay, now look at this. I drew a little picture over here for you. Now, we're going to define this. There are multiple layers, but we're going to just define this as 4 layers. Okay, 4 layers. Now, number 1, see this on this drawing, number 1. Number 1 is the actual person. Close around the person, we'd call that the physical arena or the physical level. That region is where a person emits energies, where if you tap into that energy, you'd feel senses concerning the physical being or the physical health of a person. Further away from that person, emitting would be, number 2, would be the emotional level that the person is going through. Number 3, further away from the person, you'd feel the mental status of the person. That's a mental region. And number 4, emitting from the person. Again, coming from inside the person to outside the person, that's the spiritual context of the person. You'll be able to tell whether the person is spiritual or not spiritual, religious, not religious. You would feel these senses about the person. Is everybody getting this? So wherever your conscious mind is focusing on, level 1, level 2, level 3, you should start picking up feelings and senses about the status of this person, whether it's on a physical level, emotional level, mental level, spiritual level. Now, this is regardless of whether we're talking about past, present, or future, because when you're dealing with spirituality, there is no difference. There's no past, present, future. Everything happens simultaneously. Okay? Right? It's all one for Hashem. That spiritual world is all one. It's a block time, as we explained, a block time. Okay, so is that clear? Is everybody with me so far? Okay. All right, so let's continue now. Now, just to back this up, just not to make this a little hocus pocus, but rather to bring, proof to this, is that I found once in a scientific journal called the Journal of Theoretics, concerning the human electromagnetic energy field. The subject was the relationship to interpersonal communication. They've done all types of tests on this, how a person can affect another person without physically touching a person, just standing or sitting by a person without uttering a word. So this is the quote I want to tell you. Our very physical bodies may be aerials that can simultaneously transmit electromagnetic energy to and to receive the EM energy from our physical environment, including to and from other people. And that this energy does indeed influence us both emotions and thoughts. That means basically what they're saying is that they've done tests and they've realized that you can actually affect somebody's thoughts, you can actually affect somebody's emotion, non-physically, by just your mind, by just your mind. That's enormous. Now, I want to show you a little video on the effects that your mind can have on water. Now, this is quite famous. A lot of people have seen this video, but I want to show it to you anyways. Okay. We're going to see a doctor called Dr. Moto. I don't think he's an actual doctor. I think it's just a researcher, but they call him Dr. Moto in the video. But nevertheless, this is probably something you can test yourself. And I personally feel that this is very authentic. And without getting into too much into digressing here, but I think this is really the power of tefillah, the power of brachos, why we're commanded to say brachos and why we're commanded to pray, because as we pray, we are actually influencing something. It's not only, the kindergarten understanding is that we're praying and please we're asking for something and waiting for a response, but rather Hashem has put us in this arena in order to affect situations through the koach hapeh. Our koach is in koach hapeh, kol Yaakov. We're here to affect through our vocal abilities, with that energy coming out. Now watch this video now. I'm going to try to share this with you.
Dr. Imato's laboratory does research on water samples which are subjected to various forms of outside influence. The impressions made upon the water are recorded by swiftly freezing it in a cryogenic chamber. This is what water heated in a microwave oven looks like. This is the effect of a mobile telephone. Somebody said, "Thank you to this water." Excuse me. You disgust me. Let us see how this type of water affects human blood. The doctor is drawing blood from a patient's finger. Using a special microscope, we shall be able to see the condition of her body from this drop.
These are red blood cells, and they've lost their electrical charge, so they're all stuck together in a formation called a rouleau. Here's a huge symplast. Symplasts are associated with heart disease and arthritis and lung disease and many other conditions that could be coming in the future.
The doctor asks the patient to drink a small amount of structurized water. After 12 minutes, the doctor again draws blood from the patient and studies it.
So you can see that the cells then become buoyant, they become slippery, and that allows them to carry oxygen, and it means that we're changing the pH of the blood back to an aerobic environment rather than an anaerobic environment. I think that's utterly amazing that in the water.
In 1995, Dr. Masaru was the first one to record musical impressions on water. In Dr. Emoto Masaru's laboratory, they allowed water to listen to music, after which they flash froze the water. And then, under the microscope, they could clearly see the crystals that the water had formed. Here is what the music of Bach looks like. Mozart, Beethoven, heavy rock, Dr. Emoto has conducted another interesting experiment. He placed rice into 3 glass beakers and covered it with water. And then every day for a month, he said, "Thank you" to one beaker, "You're an idiot" to the second, and the third one he completely ignored. After 1 month, the rice that had been thanked began to ferment, giving off a strong, pleasant aroma. The rice in the second beaker turned black. And the rice that was ignored began to rot. Dr. Emoto thinks that this experiment provides an important lesson. Dr. Emoto presumes that serious crimes are committed most of all in areas where people curse the most often. Idiot, I hate you. Laboratory containers of water were inscribed with hieroglyphs denoting words and the names of well-known people. Love, hope, soul, Mother Teresa, Hitler. Emoto Masaru's numerous experiments aimed at finding the word that cleanses water most powerfully have shown that it is not just one word, but a combination of 2. Love and gratitude.
All right. So you see how powerful the effects of just a vocal verbalizing something to an innate water. Water doesn't have, it's not a human being whatsoever, but nevertheless, it gets affected by the fact that you are speaking to it. So we all have effects on each other. Now, if you think about everybody has 80% water in them, I think we should be more careful the way we speak to people, because that could be very damaging to people, okay? But getting back on track to what we're saying over here about a capacity to mentally transmit information and also to mentally pick up information. So what we're going to do now is that we're going to simply break into breakup rooms, and we're going to test this out on everybody. Everybody's going to go into pairs. We're 16 people. So I think I'm going to join with somebody else to make it equal into a room. And we're going to give 5 minutes per person for you just to sit in front of the person and the other person just to take notes. So the first person will have 5 minutes just to speak about those 4 levels that we spoke about. Those levels would be, I want to hear about their physical being, their mental state, their emotional state, and their spiritual state. Okay? Now, remember the rules that we spoke about in the last 2 classes, how it's important to keep to the 16 rules that we spoke about beforehand. Remember the 16 rules? We're not going to go over them. We went through that already with the 2 classes. But the basic rule is the more you try, the more you'll fail. Okay? We're not here to force information. We're here just to surrender and to receive. Surrender and to receive. Remember those 16 rules. Remember, we're talking about very subtle energy being emitted from the person, like we showed those diagrams. And now your challenge now is to virtually sit in front of that person. The other person doesn't say anything. And you're going to speak for 5 minutes, okay, about the physical level, the emotional feelings, the mental level, spiritual. And then for a minute after that, you are going to, the other person will tell the person what he got correct, what he got borderline, or what was incorrect. Okay? And then you're going to swap over. So basically we'll have 15 minutes for the entire exercise. Okay? So 5, and a few minutes to share between yourselves. Okay? So we're going to try to, or Ira, or one of us, or everybody try to keep tabs on 5 minutes per participant and a few minutes to share. Okay, do you have any questions before we start the exercise?
Yes.
Oh.
Okay, go ahead. Let's have the questions, but make sure everybody has it clear. No, I'll be confused. Go ahead.
Could you maybe put like a list of all the 16 the steps there, because there were classes where I wasn't here.
Oh, you went right. Okay. That's going to be a little bit more difficult. Does everybody remember the steps? Okay, so maybe I'll try to put that up.
Be good. Be happy.
Okay, any other questions?
Yes, the 4 things we're supposed to look at are physical, emotional, mental, and spiritual.
Right. Okay.
And are we supposed to focus in any particular way, or just think about physical? Because you mentioned 4 positions, but
This is that's what you're aiming to receive again, but you're not looking.
right.
You know, we're not fishing. Those are part of the rules. You're not fishing for information. What can I grab? What am I? You're just waiting for the information to hit you.
Okay.
Okay. Okay. I think we have to run through actually those 16 rules very quickly again. So let me pull them up for you. Okay. So these are the 16 rules. So what you're going to do are very simple. You're going to sit in front of your participants, and you are going to prepare yourself into a mental state, number 1. Number 2, you're not going to try to experience anything. You're just going to feel, what are you feeling this moment? Again, remember those 4 levels you're looking for: physical, mental, emotional, spiritual. You want to feel and express it, feel and express it, feel and express it. Even if it doesn't make sense to you, don't try to understand it. Just give it as it is. That's number 5. Don't doubt the information, number 6. 7, keep it positive, keep it light, keep your energy high. Now, if you get a no, when this particular exercise, we're not allowing the other person to speak until the end of 5 minutes, okay? Now, if you feel that's a bit too long for you, then do 2-3 minutes. We're not putting any pressure on you. No one gets everything right, so don't get disappointed on the results, okay? These are just practices, and you get better as you practice. Now, focus on the information, not on the recipient. Don't look for verbal confirmations. Oh, the person's smiling, I'm getting this right. The person's frowning, I'm getting this wrong. Remember, you are focusing on you and Hashem, receiving information and passing it on. Don't look for any verbal confirmations from the recipient. Okay, this is a gift you have. Everybody has this gift, so you just got to be patient to let it grow. Now, use stress as your barometer. That's number 12. If you feel yourself getting upset, uptight, and anxious about this, you know you're losing connection. That's your barometer, losing connection. If you're feeling relaxed and happy, and you're flowing with information, that's your barometer to tell you, oh, I'm really connected here. Now, the key to blending, number 13, we said, is to blend with the information, blend with the source, be part of it. Or 14, don't take control. Don't say, once I'm trying to figure this out. Once you start trying to figure it out, you got it wrong. It's a very nebulous, very subtle thing. Don't go fishing for information. Just sit back and receive. 15, we said, don't disregard any information. Even sounds ridiculous. I'm seeing a bike. I'm seeing the yellow color, this and that. Just give it over as you feel it. Obviously, try to make sense out of it and give it over as information that the other recipient can understand it. And as I said, have fun. All right? It's only exercise. Nothing is going to happen. If you get everything wrong, big deal. The next time we do it, you should be successful and getting better and better at it. Okay, so here we go. We are going to break up into rules. Any last questions or hold your peace? We're good?
Yeah, I guess so. The different levels, whether it's physical or mental, I'm not going to focus on that particularly, just whatever comes and whatever category it happens to fit into, it fits into.
Right.
Right?
That's right.
It's not like I'm focusing, oh, the physical level now, the mental level, or the emotional level.
Okay, that just helps you to categorize the information a little bit better. But you're right. You don't have to focus on, now I want to.
That's sort of for use after the fact, once
Well, what are we talking about? The person who's doing the talking for 5 minutes?
What are we talking about?
Yeah, the person who's supposed to be talking, what are they talking about?
They are relating information that they are feeling.
Okay.
Okay. So, for example, I'll be sitting in front of a person and I'll be feeling all of a sudden a big sense of joy. And I'm feeling excited. And I'm starting to see images of beaches and sunlight. And I'm saying, you know what? Are you planning to go on vacation? I'm feeling that there's a lot of excitement towards a vacation. And I'm feeling that as well, for some reason, I'm feeling that there's going to be multiple people with you. So are you going with your family on vacation? Yes, I am. Okay, that's what you're talking about. You're just a funnel to receive information and to give it over. Okay, that's what you're doing. Okay, just try to follow these 16 steps. Don't try to make sense of the information. Give it over as it is. Okay. All right.
And should we be writing this down as we talk, and just?
The other person should be writing it down, point after point, and after 5 minutes, or if you want to stop before that, that's fine. The other person should say, okay, this is what you said about me. This is correct. This is not correct. This is maybe, and so on and so forth. This made sense. Then this did not make. Give some feedback to the other person. Again, got it clear? One person speaks for 5 minutes. The other person writes for 5 minutes. Then the other person, after 5 minutes, will relate, give some feedback about what the person has said.
You're supposed to meditate before?
You're not going to, you just close your eyes, get into the flow as we spoke about in the early classes. Don't get into your thoughts. Get into that neutral zone. Take a few deep breaths and then start. Feel it, express it. Feel it, express it. All right, make sense? All right, don't forget the last one. Have fun. Okay, Ira, press the button, please.
Okay, I'm going to create, I see 14 people right now. I'm going to create 7 rooms.
Okay.
I don't know.
So everybody has a pen and paper next to them, please. And were you able to write down while the other person's speaking? So right now, as we're waiting, just let's try getting to a meditative state. That neutral state. So we want to take a few deep breaths. And we want to get out of our heads, concentrate on the breath. And as you're concentrating on the breath, you want to feel the inhale and the exhale. Inhale going through the entire body. And then exhale. Exhale any negative energy. Inhale positive energy. This allows you to relax. As you relax, that's when the barriers come down, and that's when the information can come in. Okay? So I was saying that you have your 5 senses over there. You got your sight, your hearing, your smelling, your taste, and your touch. Use those in a spiritual sense. So you're asking me, how am I going to receive the information? Well, you're going to see a picture. You might hear something. You might smell something. You might feel a touch of taste. What am I tasting? I feel like I'm tasting coffee. You know, are you a coffee maker? Yes, I'm a manufacturer of coffee maker. You know, it could be anything. Mm-hmm. So you got to be in tune with yourself. Very subtle, very subtle. How am I feeling now? I'm feeling this now. All of a sudden, before I was feeling like this, very neutral. Now I'm feeling angry. I'm feeling upset. I'm feeling very joyous. That's information. Say it over. So I got a glimpse of a yellow bicycle. Write it down, yellow bicycle. Then start connecting the dots. It just flows from there. Okay? Everybody's going to have more powerful gifts than others. For example, you might be able to see better than I can hear. Or hear better than I can feel, see better than I can touch, and so on and so forth. So you're going to have to practice this till you fine-tune your gifts to see where you're really good at, okay? So I'm very good at seeing. I see a lot of pictures, and I can tell stories from the pictures that I'm seeing.
Are you able to practice this part by yourself, or it has to be with another person?
You could do it by yourself, but it's better with another person because you're looking for evidence. Because otherwise, if you're just practicing with yourself, saying, okay, I'm connecting with a soul and I feel this and this and this, and this soul is talking to me, and it could be you're making the whole thing up. So the advantage when you're working with somebody is that you're getting affirmation. Okay? So that's going to keep you in place. That's going to differentiate between your imagination and your actual receiving information. It's a big difference. Okay? That's why we're doing this with a partner. So you want evidence. Is this correct? Yes. Is that correct? Yes. Is that correct? Yes. Wow, this is working for me. I'm actually receiving information. And then when you start receiving information, you know you're connecting to Hashem. And you can receive information from him. He's speaking to you all the time. Okay, and that's what we're looking for. We'll be looking up to build those muscles in the brain that we never use, those special parts of the brain that are there as receptors for us to bring that information into ourselves in order for us to tell us what to do in life. You know, a lot of people are lost there. A lot of people have questions. They're looking for answers. So they go to this rabbi and that person, this, that, for all different types of advices where you can really receive the best advice for yourself. just by closing your eyes and concentrating. So in the olden days, they used to call that Ruach HaKodesh. But we were going to call this intuition or gut feeling. But it all works the same. So does anybody want to share their experience through that little exercise that we did? And I'm happy that we took the step anyways. Taking the step forward, that's the courageous part. You're all very courageous people that you jumped in those rooms, even though you didn't know what to expect. But next time we do this exercise, it went a bit long this session, you'll be better apt. You'll know exactly what the exercise wants from you. And B'ezrat Hashem, we're going to get more advanced with this, with more information. And we're going to hopefully see you next week. We're going to be discussing colors. Okay, so we're going to add more and more information and tools that you can use in order to draw and translate the information that you're getting. For example, if you're getting the color yellow, what is that? What does that mean exactly? Well, we're going to give you lists. I'm going to give you a list of what yellow actually means. Personal traits, personality traits of what a yellow person looks like to you. A red person, blue person, a purple person. And with all these clues and this information you'll be receiving, you'll see that you'll be getting, used to just looking at a person, but looking through their auras and their colors and receiving lots of information. So it's really fun. It's really nice. It's good exercise, again, to work those muscles in the brain. Again, try to catch up as homework. Some of the early classes, the 16 rules are very, very important. That way, next time we do these exercises, boom, we know exactly what we're going for. And so you'll find this class also uploaded to our Yeshivat Achen YouTube channel. And just like the channel as well, and the video. And we'll see you next week.
Thank you, Rabbi.
You're very welcome.
Thank you. Thank you.
Thanks a lot. Yeah.
Thank you.
Yeah. That was
Thank you. Bye.
yeah. All right. So I guess we should